Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into, yet again, my absolute current favorite brewer in the country, and that is Anchorage Brewing Company. We do a ton of their beers, all of which, has still living down in Tampa, Florida, I can only get from Tavour. Indeed, if you do not live in Alaska, that's the only way to get your hands on their beers. So if you haven't yet, after all this time, checked out Tavour, do yourself the favor, check them out. Nonetheless, today's beer is called We All Need a Friend. It's a double, they call it double, you could call it imperial, whatever nomenclature you care for, IPA. This one clocks in at 8.4% ABV. It's been double dry hopped, has added phantasm powder, and the hop bill is Motueka, Talus, and Nelson Sauvin. So nice little triple blend of hops, double dry hopped. They got the phantasm powder going in a big imperial format here, so I like it. I have a lot of Anchorage's different beers. IPAs are up there because I absolutely love this style. As always, Anchorage has some of the absolute best artwork on their labels in the industry. Here is another fantastic example. Look at this one. It looks like kind of an old Japanese samurai kind of warrior mask. Really awesome. Their artwork is just great. And I'll always tell you when and if I can spot it. On here it does say that Massive Face, yet again, has done their artwork. So whatever studio or designer that is, bravo, well done. So we got our nice, big, tall, all-purpose glass today, which I absolutely love for many beer styles, and IPAs I think it does among the best. So we're going to get this cracked, and we will get this one poured gently right down into the glass. All right. I'm going to bring it up to the middle, go straight down. Should have plenty of opportunity to make a nice head here. I'm going to stop. We're not quite going to put the whole can in. Just stop it there. Give it the room for the head to do its thing. So big aroma, I can tell you already coming off of this thing. It's massive. I'm 1.5 feet away from that glass. It is just hitting me with amazing hop aroma. So visually, this is that classic IPA yellow color, that true deep, bright yellow, slight orangey hue. It's just stunning in the glass. This one, it's not super active in terms of carbonation, but I can see a pretty steady stream of kind of small and medium small bubbles streaming up. So we'll see how long the head does stick around, but it formed beautifully. Let's get right up over this for a full sniff. Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, that smells incredible. So we're getting quite a lot of citrus and tropical fruit coming off of this. It's passion fruit, it's grapefruit, it's orange, it's lemon. It's even a little bit of lime in there. Big, strong orange aroma kind of mixing with what smells maybe a bit like cantaloupe. There's some underlying kind of passion fruit, slight pineapple-y aromas coming out of this as well. And there's a little bit of a slight earthiness and a slight little pine twinge. It doesn't smell resiny, but there's a slight little pine twinge in there. So kind of almost all of the classic aromas you would pick up in a big IPA hop bill beer are kind of present in this glass, and it smells fantastic. It's hugely pungent, and it adds for this really multi-layered effect. It smells very juice-like in its presentation, and it smells absolutely incredible. So had to settle down a little bit, but still holding true. Let's jump right in here, see what this one's about. Oh, there it is, yeah. Yeah, wow. That is just a tremendous combination of flavors. Okay, as is the case with many double IPAs and kind of the norm, it's not pungently hoppy. Bitter. When I say hoppy, I'm talking about hop bitters. It is not pungent. It's there. There's a little bit of a bitter bite, but it's subtle on this one. This is really one of those that's all about bringing big hop aroma and flavors into the equation while keeping the bitters kind of down, which is typically the case you're going to get in these higher imperial levels anyway. But the flavors that come through, absolutely incredible. So we have this really nice blend of citrus, tropical, even some underlying kind of pine twinge coming out of this, and kind of berries and melons in the aroma profile. A lot of that is present in this beer. I got to tell you one flavor that's really popping out to me that I didn't expect, and it's kind of interesting. There is, most people know that Mosaic is a hop variety that can impart pretty big blueberry aroma and flavor profile compounds. This blend of hops, I don't know if it's just the way the blend is working together, but I'm getting some very strong berry vibes. And in this one, it almost tastes like a mix of strawberry and blueberry. It's really, really delicious. And that is pairing with it's got more of a tropical vibe, and it's leaning more heavily into kind of that passion fruit side, kind of blending with these berries. But then there's also a little underlying citrus. In this one, it really does taste kind of like a mix of orange and lemon, both of which I got heavily on the nose, and a slight bit of grapefruit. Grapefruit is a pretty common one, but this one's leaning a lot more on the citrus end into lemon and orange. And it pairs very, very well with this kind of interesting and pleasantly unexpected strawberry blueberry berry vibe coming out of this. In terms of picking up a little pine twinge on the nose, there's nothing in this that really tastes piney. There is a slight bit of resinous quality to the mostly earthy bitter accent that's coming out of it. But again, because it's not super intense and in your face, it's subtle. This is one where it's really the really great combination of big, bold, in your face, intense aroma compounds and hop flavor compounds, but keeping the bitters dialed back is what this beer is all about. And of course, the Phantasm powder, if you haven't caught any of the reviews, don't know what I'm talking about there yet. Phantasm powder was discovered, kind of created by some New Zealand scientists within the last few years here. And it has tons of these compounds that you would typically find in hops. So using it paired in something like an IPA, but it's made from dried Sauvignon Blanc grape skins. And it pops just big, big, big character, particularly on the aroma side. So you're getting tons of this in this beer. And it just smells and tastes absolutely incredible. There was a lot to process because this one is very complex, obviously in the aroma, but certainly in the flavor profile as well. So we're going to jump back in, let it re-intensify, make sure I didn't miss anything of note. We'll talk about the body and the mouthfeel, and we'll definitely dig into the overall balance of the beer and the finish as well. So, take two. Okay, so the body on this is a big full medium. It's maybe not quite as heavy as weighty as you would expect for 8.4, but 8.4 isn't a stratospherically high ABV at all, even for a double. The mouthfeel, on the other hand, is very thick, it's very lush. This one gets very silky, very creamy when you agitate it around the palate. It really kind of fills out the oral cavity. It does a really good job of coating this delicious blend of flavors all over the palate as well. So, body and mouthfeel, nice. They work very well together. Body maybe not quite where I expected, but it didn't miss it by much. The mouthfeel is awesome. I absolutely love it. In terms of the overall balance of this beer, this is a beer style that, yes, you want a really good underpinning for your malt bill, which Anchorage always does a fantastic job, but it's really a style all about the hops. And there's a lot of different ways to make an IPA all about the hops. They went kind of the norm route for a beer like this, and especially when we're talking double range, it's going to have big hop aroma characteristics and flavor characteristics with much more subtle bittering. On second sip, the bitter intensification definitely picks up. That much is clear, but this isn't one of those oppressively bitter IPAs by any stretch. This one really is a story all about what can we pull out aromatic-wise out of these hops, and the Phantasm powder also should be mentioned in that equation. And then the same thing on the flavor profile side. It's very layered, it's very complex. On second sip, really, there's nothing new that I got there. It was just a re-intensification as it recoated the palate again, and then I just got to enjoy it because it really, really is delicious. Really, the big thing that I caught on second sip, which really can only ever happen after your second sip regardless, is that after coating the palate again, that the underlying bitters that are in this beer did re-intensify. So the balance on this, I would say it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. But that last comment does lead into the finish. So the finish on a beer like this, you would not normally expect to be particularly long. And this is where this beer actually surprises me, and in a good way. While it's not oppressively bitter, it's not leading with bitters, it's leading with the other flavor characteristics of hops. On the finish, despite it being relatively mild in terms of bittering, the bitters that are there seem to actually intensify even further on the end of the finish and actually kind of hold their own, and they really do stick there. So even though it's not a West Coast style intensity, what is left really actually does quite a good job of lingering on the palate to kind of keep each sip going long after it. And having a big driver like the bitters still lets those other underlying, at this point, more subtle flavors kind of pop out because they're stacked against something as astringent as bitters with these other fruity accents. So it's really, really nice. It's an impressively long finish for the relative, at least to my personal perception, lack of bitters in this beer. But I gotta say, I love it. I really, really do like trying Anchorage's beers. Try a lot of them. There's a reason for that. This is another one of those reasons for me. I'm going to take my time, sip on this beer, count my scores. When we come back, we'll get this one ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get this ranked. This was Anchorage Brewing Company's We All Need a Friend, a double IPA clocking in at 8.4% ABV. Anchorage Brewing is, of course, based in Anchorage, Alaska. So this was a beer like so many that I've reviewed to date that nearly swept it in all categories. Indeed, only one category where it did not get a perfect score. So we're going to jump right to that one. That was the body. The body on this was not light, to be certain, but for 8.4% and an IPA, I know that's not that high for a double, but that's not a low ABV by any stretch. And it really just wasn't quite as robust as I expected. It was above average, but maybe not quite as weighty, not quite as full as I expected on a beer in this ABV. So the body did get a 7 out of 10, which gives a perfect 10 out of 10 in all 9 remaining categories. That's aroma, taste, mouthfeel, finish, head and retention, appearance, balance, feeling, and intangible, my subjective thoughts category, and example of style. So the total score on Anchorage Brewing Company's We All Need a Friend is, of course, a 97 out of 100. Guys, look, I know I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to repeat it at the end. Tavour, if for no other reason than Anchorage Brewing. There's a reason I keep grabbing their beers. I have probably reviewed, I don't know, upwards of 40 or 50 to date. And I will continue to do so because they are absolute masters of the craft beer game. Really, really great. And in fact, on this one, I was impressed on my initial reviews, but of course, a little more time goes by as I'm going through, taking notes, and coming up with my scores for my table. What I mentioned in the video that you got to see got even more intense on the back end after the video cut because more time had elapsed. As I had more sips, this beer really opened up even more, particularly when we're talking bitter intensity and the way that the flavors and aromas opened up in the glass and lingered on the palate. It was really, really impressive. This was an extremely well done beer. And I'm not saying that this was like a West Coast style IPA bitters. Indeed, it wasn't. But they did become a lot more noticeable. And this is one that easily anybody of any style of IPA that you like, I would recommend this to. This is one for everybody. I absolutely loved it. Just a big beer, packed with aroma, packed with flavor. I loved it. Do yourself the favor, if you don't live in Alaska and you haven't yet checked out Tavour, just do it. Check out their app. They have a website with basic information, but you can only get their beer by ordering through the app for Apple and for Android. No, I'm not sponsored by Tavour, though Tavour, if you're watching, let's talk. But yeah, absolutely worth your time, guys. Check it out. Anchorage Brewing, you can't go wrong with their beers. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit the bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.